there's so many other stories that are so
Humpty
connected.
Dumpty that had a great fall, and that's funny because that's the menstrual cycle. And the egg there that falls and can't be put together back again because you're menstruating.
Welcome to Beyond the Cup. Conscious Conversations with Joanna and Michelle.
This is where coffee turns into conversations that go way beyond surface level.
We're talking consciousness, spirituality, relationships, symbolism, healing, psychology, astrology, life, all of it.
Real conversations without a script. Combos that make you think, question, reflect, and maybe even see yourself a little differently.
So grab your coffee, tea, or whatever's in your cup.
And let's go beyond it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Cheers.
Cheers.
I am actually really excited about today. Like our conversations. I mean, obviously all the time, but today, I don't know. I'm into the whole Moses thing.
Well, we kind of touched on it the last time, but let's go into more detail because when people think of Moses, they just think of this shepherd holding a staff. They don't really know the
The
symbology.
esoteric. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So can you break that down
Yeah.
for us?
So I think it was our last episode that I had said, "Oh, I'm going to bring up the rod and Moses," and then we never did. Cuz squirrel. So we decided to do it this time, and I think it's so important for people to first know that there's a exoteric outer story and there's an esoteric inner story. The exoteric, the outer story is for the masses. Those who are how do I say this? They're maybe just not ready yet for the deeper communion with God. That is more of the esoteric, which is the inner, which is the disciples, the people who are disciplined to have communion with God, to go within. And those that small portion of people, um, the esoteric information is known very very little, and that's what we're talking about is the symbolic part of the story. So I don't know, where do I begin? Do you have any specific questions, like
Well,
how did you view the story of Moses before you met me?
okay, it was just okay, it was similar to what we talked about last time. They pulled him out of the water and then they cared for him and then he went off and it's crazy because like I only remember watching it as a movie at around Easter time, I think it is. And then he was up and got the Ten Commandments. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot about the stories because I grew up Catholic. We don't know scripture.
The movie.
We know the movie, but when you're at Mass, it breaks down the Last Supper. It more so than like each scripture. They'll read a gospel or a reading from different books, but I never really was able to study the Bible. I wasn't interested in it then.
Yeah, I was
And,
gonna
and
say I don't think I paid attention when they actually read it and I was in church. So
yeah, no, I mean certain things because when you go, there's a lot that's repeated,
mhm.
which cool. But yeah, so you break it down, you break it down how you do it.
I mean,
Yeah.
we'll go, like, if I'm missing something, or if you have a question, just ask. But
Okay.
symbolically, Moses is the whole story is about our awakening. It's the spiritual awakening. And because that's where it begins. Moses is the inner part of us that is waking up, the child that is awakening. And his name means to be brought out of the water, which he was brought out of the water. But that means that it's coming out of truth, because again, water is the second stage of consciousness, which is truth. So from the earth, which is the child, to the water, which is truth, and out of the truth comes deeper understanding, etc. Right? So coming out of the water, I thought it was really funny that, not funny, but very interesting that, okay, in, the esoteric metaphysics, the man is the mind, the female is the emotions, or sometimes it's the spirit, depending on what we're talking about. And in this case, it was the daughter of Pharaoh, or the princess of, the Pharaoh, who found Moses. And that's the emotional desires of the ego being the Pharaoh. And so it is her desires that's wanting the baby. But when it's time to feed the baby, he gets handed over to his mom, the spiritual side, because the spirit is the only one that can feed the child, the awakening part of you. And so I thought that was cool
Interesting.
because those are
Yeah.
little subtle things. Um,
Well,
so
you would never pick that, you'd never pick up on that.
right, right. It's unless you understand the female aspect and what that means.
Exactly.
But yeah, so the story goes, he's grown into or raised by the Egyptians, and the Egyptians are the aspects of us that are held in bondage. It's the mind, the ego, and so he's growing up. Obviously, like we awaken within the ego, within our conditions, within the aspects of us that have been conditioned, and you have to kind of fight through that. It's an inner battle because you get met with our family members who then become the Hebrews that he tried to save them, but when he came back, it was his own people who were like, "What are you doing?" And he had to run away to the wilderness. And that is our family, our friends, our the people who raised us with those conditions that then look at us when we're awakening and they're like, "What are you
You're,
doing?
yeah, you're
You're
crazy.
crazy. Why are you
Yeah.
listening to that? Why are you opening up your mind to that?" And so he goes to the wilderness. And what is the wilderness? Meditation. Wilderness is always meditation. So he goes to meditation. And what's funny is he goes to the back of the desert. Like, where's the back of the desert? It's the back of our
Uh,
spine where we have
the
our big,
chakras, the
yeah,
awakening,
the
the sacred
awakening.
secretion, the Christ
Exactly. So,
oil.
yeah, so he goes to the back of the desert. And so obviously he's like, you know what? I'm staying away from everybody and all their thoughts and all their conditions and all that. And I'm going to go in within myself. And that's when he all the stuff happens. I mean, we can go into the whole story, but it's really just understanding like the symbolism, like the seven daughters. We talked about that last time, which are the seven chakras, because he went to the back of the desert. In the well. So there's again the water. Priest of Midian gave him his daughter, which her name was Zipporah. Zipporah is a female bird. So out of the water and into the air, just like Noah in the water, then comes out of the air. Jesus was in the water, and then the dove comes out of the air. So it's all symbolizing these states of consciousness, water, and then air. And so, talking about this rod, right? The rod esoterically is symbolizing the spine, and the spine is our authority. It's also our physical nature. It's symbolizing that when the rod is straightened up and it's a rod, you're in your ego, you're in your human nature. But when he drops it and it becomes a serpent, well, now it's the essence, the energy, the electrical energy, the life force energy that is within, that it's like he's saying, I surrender and I let go and I let God. That's the equivalent.
Let go, let
I
God.
am letting go of the rod, and then it becomes kundalini. It becomes the spiritual energy. And so I surrender to that. But then God says, pick it back up from the bottom, like, right? Pick it back up, and then it becomes a rod again, meaning you can always go into meditation. You can always go into your higher self. You can always go into a spiritual self and let go and let God. You can always get into that realm of higher consciousness, of Christ consciousness. But that doesn't mean that it has captured you now. You can always go back to your ego self. You can always come back to your human self. You can always have the two aspects of yourself, because that's what this is. We are
The
physical and we are
polarity,
non-physical.
the duality,
Right. So it's like, look, you can pick it back up and you're you again. You're Moses, you're the man, or you can drop it and you are the
one with
Christed
God.
spiritual one. Right. So he understands that. And when he goes to try to tell Pharaoh, which is the ego, the head ego guy, they go back and forth with the rod and the snake, but then his magicians do the same thing. And then he ends up winning because it's not they were using more of like the black magic, let's just say, versus the true God power that we have within.
Okay.
So there's the rod, right? The rod is always symbolizing that authority, the ego, but then it's always, that's why you get the caduceus of the kundalini when you see that in the medical
Yes.
industry.
Yes.
He tries to free his people, right? That were in bondage from Egypt and cross,
Over.
the sea. And so when you're doing that, you are crossing over from the ego side, the left brain, to the right side, to the right brain. And now that you have that power of God and everything, and that you have meditated and gone into the wilderness, and that you are able to then now cross from the left to the right, the corpus callosum, your brain opens up. Basically, you're just symbolically going from thinking to not thinking, to the garden, to the
To the
spiritual
spirit.
side.
So is that the same as when he parts the sea?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like parting
Yeah.
the sea would be crossing over
Over
from the
from the
mind to the spirit.
yes.
Which a lot of people go, oh, but it's not your own mind. You can't, if you go within, you can't just rely on what's on your mind. But what they're not understanding is that you're going beyond the mind. You're going not on your own understanding. You're going with no thoughts whatsoever. You're going into the spiritual realm where there is no thought, where you let go of your human nature and you let God, like
Yes. You let go of those senses, the five senses, and you
your own
tap into the
thinking.
hmm
Which
yeah.
which takes you to tithing. I
Yes.
mean,
Okay.
that's a great segue.
Totally. Yes, because like we've chatted about this and it just came up. Kyle's in a book club and he's reading a book and everything, and it talked about tithing. And I'm like, no, it's not what you think it is. What the church asks of you for tithing is not what it's actually meant. And so I asked you, I said, Joanna, can you explain it? So like break it down for me again, because I know we've chatted about this and the 1/10, like what is the significance of the 1/10?
Well, 10 is the number of completion. And that's why there's like 10 commandments and 10 this and like 10 is the percent of what we use. We use 10% of our brain, which is the left side.
Okay.
So when you remove the left side, which is your five senses, you're left with your sixth sense. You're left with the spiritual side. You're left with the 90% that is dormant. It's really not dormant. You just have to access it. It's there. You're just not
And
quiet enough to get to it.
and the way to access it is meditation.
Right.
Be still and know.
So the whole tithing becomes not necessarily, I don't know when it started with,
Monetarily.
yeah, I don't know when that started, but for that there's the exoteric version of it, right? People are going to do that. It's just that the true essence and true meaning of it is always going to be give 10% of yourself, give 10% of that ego, give your attention and focus and all of that. It's basically like give that all up and just go to God. Again, the whole thing is let go and let God, I swear.
That's what's so beautiful about it, because like what maybe became something from somebody's perspective of like, oh, it says give 1/10, so that means we have to give 1/10 of what we make financially, so that way we can give to the church and what have you. It's so beautiful when you see it from a different point of view, a different perspective. Because if you are going to lay down that 10% of the ego, the mind, and be still, and then open up that 90%, that connection with God, by just going into meditation and just being quiet. I hope when people watch this, that I hope their mind just goes like it did to me when we first started talking, right?
I mean, it's heavy stuff, but I think that once you do start to open your mind to understanding yourself, because you have to, once you open that door, you become responsible for everything. Because before you just kind of set away that responsibility towards, or the devil did it, or it's because of this, it's because of that, and at the end of the day, you are responsible. You have the choice. You can choose yourself. Remember? Like we
Yes.
are the chosen ones if we choose to be the chosen ones. So it's all our choice and it's all our own responsibility. And I just think it's so interesting. I mean, think about it. The first published Bible was back in 1455. 1455. It took centuries of different people,
Sharing the stories.
politics, prophets, mystics, the Hebrews, the Greeks who wrote mythology, wrote tons of mythology within the Bible, layered, right? But it got through so many hands, got cooked through so many like things that were taken out, things that were put in. But it
Yeah,
was
there's
a
certain,
collection of tons of people. It was a collective work of tons of people over hundreds of years that then became this book,
well,
which
and
then
then they
became
took
the Word of God.
they've taken books out. Like they totally have removed certain ones.
So
Um,
which one's correct?
exactly. So why do you think instead of just putting it in simple terms for people to know, why do you think that they speak in parables and dark sayings and symbolically more than just like, oh, straight up, here you go?
I mean, that's why you hear a lot, they don't have eyes to see or ears to hear. It's written in parables so that those, like I said, some are just not consciously ready yet as far as their level of consciousness, and they want the doctrine. They are in the whole religion because that's how they grew up, and maybe they just haven't had that spiritual awakening yet. So for those people, there's the story. Just like for the young kids, there's the Santa Claus story. But eventually you are ready to hear the truth and you wake up to, oh, that's what it really means. Right. And so some of us just don't wake up to that. But those that
Well,
do and are ready to, and the Moses aspect of them turns on and they're waking up, they're going to start digging. They're going to start asking questions. Ask and you shall receive. Right.
and they'll start peeling back the layers or finding somebody to help them peel back the layers. I know, like for me, I feel like it's a very personal journey for everyone. So everybody has their right to whatever resonates for them,
Right.
what gets them closer to God, however that may be for them,
Right.
it's okay. And if going to church and that's where you are most connected to God, that's awesome. It's whatever is best for you and what you need and what fills your soul.
Right.
So I
And
think that's what's so cool.
yeah, is that everyone, that's the interesting part, fascinating part, I should say, about the Bible is that it does come layered in that way so that everyone has a different interpretation of it. The thing about metaphysics and esoteric information and all that and the mystics, um, is that it's all one heavy big it's like it's a language that still has to be decoded because it's not saying, oh, that doesn't exist, it's made up. No, like that's how it was. It's ancient language that was written in a certain way that has the same meanings throughout hundreds of years and will always have those same meanings, the masculine and the feminine. I mean, like it's broken down very symbolically for a reason. Um, and it's for those that wake up and want to search and want to, that are thirsty as you drink. Um,
Hmm.
those that are thirsty for that wisdom and that communion, they're going to keep digging and they're going to start getting the layers. And that's why it's so important when you meditate, because you're getting direct insight, intuition, and information from your own Christ consciousness, like from your own inner divine self. That's
Yes.
where you're getting the interpretations. That's why you should meditate, because this is deep information that kind of talks to you in a non language type of way. It's energy.
Well, and it's really interesting because, like, I mean, I feel like my thirst, my thirst was really about knowing more. And so when you and we started working together and you said, well, you've heard of the sacred secretion, right? And I'm like, no, what is that? And then you broke that down for me. And then it made me want to learn more and peel back more layers, and you did it so wonderfully by the baby steps that we took and different things. And like we've talked about Moses and the rod, but there are things today that you said that I didn't hear of before. So it's like every time we talk about these things, I learn something new each and every time. And I think it's so wonderful.
Because you're
And
learning
I,
about yourself. This is all about you,
and what's within.
not some guy in a desert from like something something AD or whatever the fuck.
For sure, for sure,
BC, I don't know.
for sure. And it's so cool because like for me, like prayers asking, like, cause like, oh, give me strength, give me, protect me. I feel like that's like for asking, right? But meditation is listening. Meditation's where,
Receiving.
yes, so you go quiet and you're there just being one with God, yourself, and receiving whatever messages or knowledge that is meant for you.
I kind of feel like prayer is for those who are still like with faith and therefore they have to ask for something versus
Knowing that they have
knowing
it.
already that you just need to ask for it. Like not you don't need to ask for it. That you don't need to ask for it basically because God knows what you want and need and what's even better for you. So if you surrender and you just know
It'll be taken
you
care
let go and let God,
of.
then it would be taken care of. And therefore, you're coming from a place of knowing and not a place of faith, which you're supposed to kind of let go of. Hebrews 6:1 says, move on to perfection. Let go of faith when you have knowing and understanding. So, again, it's just levels. And the deeper you go in within yourself, the deeper you understand the layers that are placed in all these scriptures and all these texts and things.
Yeah.
For a book to have so much symbolism and so much like to carry so much weight, but it's a collection of pieces put by tons of people into this one book that really is separated by two sections. Like you have to start asking the questions of what does this really mean? Like this has to be psychological, it has to be spiritual, because if it was a literal historical book, it would be in history books. History books. It's not in any history book, it's just in the Bible. Think about it.
Never thought of it that way. Honestly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm. Bible. It's like a babble. It's language. It's symbolic. It's,
Etymology.
yes. It's trying to tell you so much. And I just think like all these stories, again, have the same meaning. And it's not until you start breaking them down little by little that you start seeing how they connect.
We'll definitely have to do one where you give pieces of each story and how they all are saying the same thing. Because like down to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You know, that's
Mhm.
that's um that's a chat for another day, I think.
Did we do that when we talked about the chakras? Did we talk about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Because I mean, I think we did. It was when I
I think we,
mentioned
yes,
this
yes, we did. But
white magnetism, like white light hitting,
yes, we
the
did.
spectrum.
We talked about Snow White there, but there's so many other stories that are so
Humpty
connected.
Dumpty, that had a great fall, and that's funny because that's the menstrual cycle, and the egg there that falls and can't be put together back again because you're menstruating. So that's really cool. Little Red
Red
Riding
Riding
Hood.
Hood.
That's a tongue twister. Is about this, right? It's about when you get to sunset. Like that's why it's red. It's the red sun. The wolf being the night. Like all the stories are this.
It's so cool. I love it. That's
This.
what I love.
And how to connect it together and like Cain and Abel, just like get the opposite polar, um, all of it. It's just that. And I think that's why I leave that up there. Like there's no point in erasing it at this point.
No, not at all.
Why?
Because you
Like,
because everything is connected.
and it's gonna
It's
stay that
all.
way.
Pretty much. You used your whiteboard, but you could have just did it permanent paint.
I know, right? Like, why erase this? Don't erase it. It's funny because I show my grandson like all the signs around over and over. When I get to Leo, I'm like, look, that's you. And I keep hitting it and I'm like slowly erasing the Leo. And I'm like, stop it.
You're like, I have to redo the Leo.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, Moses, tithing, always talking about the same thing. Every single episode we're talking about the same thing, kind of, just in different ways, how it connects.
Exactly, exactly. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I always love our conversations.
For real, for real. It's very eye-opening.
It is. The single eye.
Eye-opening. So yeah, next time we'll talk about the manifestation in clairs, right?
Yeah, let's do that. That'll be good.
Manifestation in clairs. So thanks
Okay.
for watching, guys.
Thank you. I'll see you later. Hey,
Thank you.
always sending you love and light.
Yes.
Thank you for sitting
Cheers.
with us for
Cheers.
another conscious conversation beyond the cup. If something resonated with you today, please share it, comment, subscribe, and send it to someone who is also asking the deeper questions about life. Until next time, keep expanding, keep questioning, and keep going beyond the surface and the cup. We'll see you guys next time. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. Let's have a cup of tea.